waving my arms in the air like I just don't care in an Ibiza nightclub. There we go. Well, willkommen, bienvenue. Welcome to another live stream with my dear friend Eleri Cosslet of Love Entrepreneurs. She is summering in climes warm in Egypt at the moment, but has luckily been available so we can make this live stream today.
I just narrowly avoided a what do they call them? A foam party.
Hammam.
No, yeah, it's sort of a hammam in a swimming pool, which was a bit off-putting, accompanied by lots of retro feed and whoop, 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 whoop. I think half of the people around the pool looked very bemused as to what on earth this was. You know, has the bubble bath gone mad? You know,
yes, someone has put too much fairy liquid in the bubble bath.
Exactly.
Welcome, one and all. Today's topic actually is an interesting one. I know all of you out there who are listening to this are confirmed entrepreneurs. You know what you're about. But we're asking the question today, is entrepreneurship right for you? And it's an interesting question because a lot of people assume that just because I'm doing it by myself, that makes me an entrepreneur. And you know, I'm struggling. And so for some people, I'm sorry to break anyone's bubble here, but entrepreneurship isn't the right thing for them.
Well, I think there's a miscomprehension, first of all, Gareth. What is an entrepreneur? I think there's a really popular misconception now that an entrepreneur, and I blame universities for this and their desire to create new courses called entrepreneurship. Right now, there are very few real entrepreneurs in the world. Elon Musk is one of them. You know, Bill Gates is another. These are people who are visionaries, right? They see the world in a different way and they go for it. Now, the meaning of the word entrepreneur is, it's a French word, and it means entre, between, prenez, the verb to take. People who take something in between that which already is. So it's people who can see beyond what is already there and are prepared to do the necessary to take advantage. That is not somebody who goes, oh, I have a business idea. That is not the same thing at all. Which is why you have people who are ideas people, who are visionaries, don't fit well with process-driven people. Or they do fit well, but they can't usually do both. Process people can't really do the vision. But
that's
you know,
I tell you what, that's why visionaries need process people.
Absolutely. And look at what they did with Tesla. So and Steve Jobs did exactly the same at Apple, which is why they had an extraordinary, amazing product. He got the entrepreneurs, the visionaries, and the process people, the engineers, to sit on the floor, on the production line floor, so that the engineers could see immediately what is wrong with the vision, and the vision people could see immediately what was wrong with their vision that didn't work technically, right? So that you much faster resolution, so that everybody's happy. And what tends to happen when people start up in business is they have this great idea, right, vision, and no clue how to implement it.
No, absolutely. They can't even necessarily describe it in terms that an engineer or a process person could understand. So often they'll need interpretation to turn that vision into reality. Yeah.
Exactly. So what we're all about in Love Entrepreneurs is to give them the opportunity to put their ideas out there to people, get the critical feedback, and then plan it up. Plan it on a piece of paper. But the question I'm really interested in, and I'm hopefully going to be joined by Lisa Bowen for the next couple of sessions, is the mindset required to be a real entrepreneur. I'm just going like this at the moment because I know there's a big white thing happening behind me. It's not God, it's not God, you know.
Yes, no, of course not.
Idea. But so I really believe, because I've done this myself badly, and sometimes very well, but invariably very badly, where I've run with an idea, but I haven't planned it. I haven't tested it with engineers. I haven't worked with a tech team to say, well, how the hell are you going to implement this wild idea of yours?
Right.
All well and good having the vision or the idea, but if you haven't tested it against the market, who wants your product? Do people want or need your product? Or is that just an idea in your own head that they need what you've got? How can
you may well think that you've found an object that does that. I always call it like the better mousetrap. You see, the problem with the better mousetrap is if you define, it depends what you want. If you define a mousetrap as something that kills a mouse, and you go to the pound shop or Poundland or other pound related shops are available, and you buy a mousetrap, it'll cost you £1. But whereas Drapers will sell you a Bluetooth enabled thing that will flash blue whenever it's caught a mouse, kill it humanely or hold it humanely, and then send you a message when it's ready to be dealt with. Now that's great, but that costs, I think, 40 or £50. Now the pound shop mousetrap sells in droves, and you know exactly what you're getting. And if you want to kill a mouse, that's probably what you'll get. Do people buy the Drapers one? Very rarely. As far as I know, almost nobody buys it. And the reason why is they're reinventing a wheel to which there was an adequate solution, a problem that there was an adequate solution to. So your problem is, are you making a better mousetrap, or are you in fact coming up with a new solution?
Absolutely. And it never ceases to amaze me that people are unwilling. You know, let's be honest, everyone wants to make money, apparently, right? If that's what you're into.
Apparently.
So shouldn't you also be interested in finding the quickest, fastest possible way to make money, which actually involves you having to come up with a very quick way of actually finding your audience and actually testing out whether your audience wants what you've got to sell. And people don't do that. People do not do that. Time and time, we have people coming to the Big Fix, which is free, by the way, and you can come and you can probably prove the concept yourself, you know, in a very loving and sensitive environment. You know, this is quite touchy-feely, but the mindset of an entrepreneur is really, really, really important. You've got to be prepared to really self-question a lot of things. And some of this is hard, right? You know, let's be honest. You've just given birth to your baby. It's your business. It's your baby. That's mistake number one right there. It's not your baby. You're the thought brain behind your baby. You've given birth to it. But actually, this is not a human being. This is a creation. And sometimes other people are better than you at bringing that creation to life and making it happen in the marketplace. It's about letting go. And you know, the mindset of an entrepreneur is very much, it's really quite tricky because it's very much, you know, nothing's happening without me. It's not invented here mentality. And what that means is they're not prepared to explore because they're holding on to it as their idea. Better ways of bringing it to a mass market, coming back to the first reason why you probably want to set up your own business. You want to make money, right? You want to be self-sustaining. You want to leave a legacy. You want to conquer the world. You want to whatever. You can't do it on your own. And you certainly can't do it unless you have really drilled into all the problem areas of the other, you know, the ways that other people perceive the problems in your product. I've got to go through it on a daily basis. And yes, it's painful. No one likes to be told, well, that's shit. But if you turn it around and you've divorced yourself from your product, so it's not your baby anymore, you look at it differently and you think, okay, that's somebody else's idea. Is that a better idea? So it doesn't hurt so much, right?
Well, no, absolutely. I think the difference between a visionary and an entrepreneur is the willingness to allow relinquishing control of certain aspects of the production of that turns this from an idea into a fact, and that process can be quite painful, especially as you said, when you've given birth to this, you've probably been thinking about it for years. You talked about it with perhaps with your closest pal, with your wife, your husband, but you know nothing outside that circle. And here you are trying to give birth to this as a product, as a process. You're going to have to realize that some things are just too expensive to manufacture. Other things are too difficult to do in one country and easier in another, that there are labor laws to deal with, that there are people to deal with, that there are aspects of this that look beautiful to you, but when presented to a focus group, they recoil from in horror. You've got to be able to take the results of these processes and deal with them without getting defensive or worked up. You've got to be able to see it as a process.
The important thing there is to understand that people process information differently. That is your first starting point. This is always about psychology, right? It may well be that you really do have the answer to their problem, and it may well be that you're right. Just because they say no is not a reason to give up. What it is a reason to reflect on the different types of people out there and how they perceive the information or information generally. And there are about 6 different prototypes of ways of thinking, for example. Once you've mastered how each one of those 6 digests information, you can much more easily filtrate the information so that they understand what you're doing. If you're filtrating, I do this all the time. I transmit in linear. I transmit precisely as I think, expecting that the whole earth will understand what on earth I'm talking about. I'll give you a really good example of this, right? You know about this because you've been victim to me doing this to you. Right, so when I came up with this brilliant idea of, hey, I can fund everybody's businesses without the need to worry about, I can fund businesses half in cash, half in silver, right? Lots of interest. Now, to me, it's very obvious how that works. To you, you sort of got halfway to understanding it, but you were clearly lost in the other 50% of the way, as have other people been. And that is not your fault. That's an example of my inability to understand, first and foremostly, how you process information. So had I bothered to work out how you process information first, I would have very quickly engineered the information designed deliberately to how you process it so that you can understand it. It's my responsibility. If other people don't understand what we're doing, it's not their fault. It's actually my fault.
Sometimes it can make you feel less of a person if you don't immediately understand everything as it's being presented, but it does make it a lot easier if it's then perhaps summarized or put in such a way that you can receive it in the way in which you best process it. Let's talk a little bit about the big fix and why we're promoting it so heavily. The big fix is the first part of that journey, is it not?
Well, it's the willingness, right? The first part of that journey. Let me just finish on one point, Gareth, our previous point. So
sure.
It's learning for me how to transmit information to different types of people. But equally, it's also learning for you, because what you'll be learning is how my brain works, in which case you can then better learn how to transmit what the services that you provide to others.
Right.
Well, actually, it's learning. Now, back to the big fix. The idea here is that we work with people who are open-minded and willing. So there is absolutely no point in people coming to the big fix who are not prepared to listen to critical feedback done in a loving way. And we have all had to go through this. It's absolutely vitally important, because this is how we grow. We grow through learning that what they're saying to us is not a criticism. What they're doing is making suggestions that could be put into our toolbox such that our product could reach more people, not fewer people. And that little buffer, that creating that gap between my baby and the product, is vitally important, because the more fixated or the more wedded you are to the product, the less likely you are to be able to look at it objectively and to actually look at how this can really help other people move forward. So the Big Fix is all about coming with a true and genuine desire to listen to other people's feedback and thoughts about how you can better solve a problem or resolve it, and then giving you a report. Everyone gets a report written by me. It's not written by AI, so I should tell you, it's actually written by me. You get 2 videos curated for you, and then you can cogitate, digest, and then the question then is, are you prepared to take action? Do you really want to do the work that is involved? And the majority of people will just go, no, not really, it's too much like hard work. But they're the ones that will still be moaning 3 years later that they haven't made any money. So basically, if you want what any entrepreneur has got, namely they've made money, they've brought their products to market, these are the steps that they've all been through, and these are the steps that people need to take.
Right. Well, look, okay, let me round this up quickly before we run out of time. We do have a big fix coming today. Here it is, here.
Isilda Smith.
There we go. Isilda Smith about Genistar. Come along and find out really about Genistar, and also hear what her issues are in promoting or achieving the goals that she wants to achieve. If you want to play a part of this.
Actually, just on Isilda's a brilliant example of somebody who's at the beginning of her journey. She hasn't got any preconceived ideas. She's coming because she just wants ideas from everybody on how she can grow her business. She's very open-minded and very willing to learn. She's your ideal client, really, because she wants to learn and she's open to trying new things, which is amazing.
Well, look, please do come along. You can see the Zoom ID at the top and the passcode. I'm afraid that click doesn't work here, but please do come along. What I would say is thank you so much, Eleri, for taking time out of your lovely holiday and to talk to us. And to everybody out,
the phone party.
Yes, and to the rest of you, please realize that Big Fix, love entrepreneurs, plan up, scale up, all the different aspects to everything. Love entrepreneurs.
I'm funding.
And get funded is all about a process. And you have to be willing to open yourself to the process to get where you need to get to. Until next week, please look after yourselves, keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and do look after that mental health. Goodbye now.